Welcome, everyone. My name is John Spiegelman. I'm the Commissioner of Ward 11, President of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. I'd like to welcome everybody to the public information meeting on the draft resolution on joining the Climate Collaborative of Greater Philadelphia. And the person who's truly hosting this meeting and will serve up the meat and potatoes is our dear friend from the Environmental Advisory Council, Kaki Evans, and with us also is the chair of the Environmental Advisory Council, Jim Webb. So without further ado, take it away.
Okay, Jim, why don't you introduce yourself and say some opening remarks about why we're here?
Oh, Jim, you're muted. Still muted. I'm looking at the little red crossed out microphone icon there.
Let's see if I can unmute you too.
How about that?
That works.
Okay. Well, as you can see, I'm gifted electronically. My name is Jim Webb. I'm the chair of the Environmental Advisory Council. This meeting is to take presentation is to try and get everybody some background on why we are, as the EAC, encouraging the township to sponsor a resolution for us to, as a township, to join the this climate collaborative. I mean, all we need to do is take a look at the news the last couple of days and see the issues that we're facing with climate. Just look to the West Coast. You know, Portland and Seattle, and we've got to act. If we're not going to be able to do much nationally or statewide, we bang our heads against the wall there sometimes, but we got to do it locally. So the opportunity is here to join together with other fellow communities here in the greater Philadelphia area, and that's why we're recommending that the Board of Commissioners consider this resolution. So, Kaki, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. And I'm very happy to introduce you. I don't know, Bill, if you can, I see you're muted, but Bill Saby is the Montgomery County lead for the Ready for 100 program. And that's been a fabulous program in terms of training our Abington Clean Energy Plan. What is a Clean Energy Transition Plan team? Clean Energy Transition Planning Team. We call it ACCEPT. To work with the other municipalities in terms of being trained on doing a municipal energy transition plan and also a community energy transition plan. In this case, a little bit more expansive by having a climate action plan. So, Bill, do you want to say anything or introduce yourself?
Hi, Kaki and Mr. Spiegelman and Mr. Webb. Yeah, Montgomery County is really proud of Abington taking a lead on becoming another climate action plan community, as Narberth did a year ago. And several of us, as Kaki mentioned, are working on our energy transition plans. We're hoping to introduce our energy transition plan for Plymouth Township to our council next week, and we'll see if they're ready to adopt it. So I encourage you on your efforts. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
let me
you so
know.
much, Bill.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. No, Bill, welcome and thank you so much for your efforts in Plymouth and throughout the county. Ready for 100 is a wonderful and important initiative. So many thanks for your work. Now I'll shut up.
Yeah, let me know when your meeting is. I would love to attend, when
Thank
you
you.
introduce it.
Sure will.
And I've been having access to your draft energy transition plan has been very helpful for me, and I'll give you access to our stuff. So let's do a screen share and get started. And let's do view slideshow. Can you all see that? Okay, so here's our first slide, and I'll show you a link. I'm going to try to brief through the salient parts, but I think the biggest takeaway here is that in looking at the draft resolution is what the goals are. So if I just put the link in, but I also have it up because I think the biggest concern is how are we going to get there, and what does this mean if the township adopts this resolution. So the current, what we decide to do is we decide to use the latest what we're recommending is to use the latest IPCC, what is it? Intergovernmental, oh gosh, I should know. It's in the resolution on climate change, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, I think it is. And what they recommend is they had the Paris Accord, where I think it said we have to stop this at no more than 2% rise in Celsius temperatures. And they recommended that actually in 2018, they came out with a powerful report that said, you know what, we got to stop this at 1.5 degrees. And I've taken all kinds of webinars that show there's a tremendous difference between the 2 degrees Celsius and the 1.5 degrees Celsius. And so for that, that means that we would have a 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from 2000. Already there's been a 20.2% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from 2005 to 2018. But the IPCC said that they're recommending now that a 45% reduction from their 2010 level. So I'm going to show you that in a slide in a minute. And that means an additional 14, that means we've already gone down from 2010 to 2018 by 14.6%. So I'm going to show you how this all works out in a table, and that the collaborative, basically, we want to leverage their the best practices and what they're about so that we can get to, so we're recommending for a climate action plan to have a goal of 45% reduction by 2030 and a net zero by 2050. And we did as part of our climate action plan process, we've been having a community survey, and you can see of these responses that the majority of people say based on the latest climate science, okay, that's almost 33%. Obviously, people are interested in based on economic or technical feasibility. That's a very valid concern. Why does it say 18% here? Something's wrong with I messed this up. I'm sorry. I think what it is I kept the old and I didn't narrow it down here, but the blue. All right, so the aspirational is a lot. People say, let's go for it. And the 27% is actually the high, that's what it is, the high degree of confidence. And this was, I think it's gone lower. It's 18. This blue should be here, 18.6%. So, if you're going to look at the latest climate science, there's something called science-based targets. I'll explain that to you in a minute. So again, here's our goals: 45% reduction from 2010 emissions by 2030 and net zero by 2050. So I put this chart together, and it shows these are the first 3 greenhouse gas inventories. And that's basically, I know you all know what that is, but just in case people are listening to a recording, that's basically where you look at your energy, you look at every source on a community basis, not just the township, but you look at all your sources of emitting greenhouse gas emissions, not just carbon dioxide, but what we call metric tons of carbon dioxide. That little E means equivalence, because it could be methane and other greenhouse gases, and you put it together. And for the first 3 years, the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, they do this. It's a wonderful service they do for all the municipalities in the Jersey and Pennsylvania area that are in the Delaware Valley. And these are what, in 2005, here we were, 657, almost 658 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions for our community. We went down by 6.5% by 2010. And by 2015, we went down by, from this baseline of 2005, we went down by almost 21%. And since we're talking about targets that the IPCC recommends, we put in a column here for the 2010. So why have we gone down, and why does it look like we might have gone up? So just to show you what it means is that basically Pennsylvania, our grid transition from much less coal to natural gas, and natural gas has roughly half the greenhouse gas emissions that burning coal does. So that's one source. Also, cars became more fuel efficient, so that's another main reason. So we know by 2015 we reduced our in those 5 years alone we reduced by 15%. But was it really something that we did consciously? Did we manage it? I can't say, like I said, it was the grid, it was automobiles becoming more efficient. And so this is the first year in 2018, we did our own greenhouse gas inventory as part of this local climate action plan program. And I think this is more accurate because rather than rely on DVRPC to, for instance, get our metric tons of waste, we work directly with our wastewater, I'm sorry, our waste management, our public works department. And we saw that we went up in waste, but I think that's because it was more accurate. So I think we went up by about 2,000 or 3,000 metric tons. But there's still a lot of accuracy here because when we did a comparison of apples to apples, in other words, we still work with DVRPC to get our comparison of electricity and natural gas for both our residents, our commercial and industrial businesses. We saw that, that's definitely accurate data. And we can see that electricity for our residents went down by about 9%. And for natural gas, it went up. And perhaps, as Ashley brilliantly suggested, and Commissioner Mike Thompson thought, perhaps maybe people were switching from, switching over to natural gas for heating as opposed to relying, on other sources. And that would be also, that's one reason to increase. So just to summarize this quickly. So these 2030 goals, if this is our 2030 target to get to 45% less, that means that we're going to have to come down by from 2018 to 2030 in those 12 years. And we've already, gone through 2.5 years of that by about 186 almost 187,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. And that means we're looking at a 35, almost 36%. And then for net zero, these are our targets, that we're taking it from the 2018, that's the figure I use, we want to be net zero, and that means coming down 100%. So how can we reach these targets? So this is something that the Ready for 100 Clean Energy Transition Planning team put together for us. And what it looks like, and we presented this in our last public action, this is how we're forecasting, just, a simple forecast of dividing it by, the blue is our residential, because that's the biggest share of our greenhouse gas emissions. That constitutes 34% of our emissions. This area here is our commercial, mostly commercial, but we do have a little bit of industry, such as, what is it, SEP or
SPS.
SPS, thank you. So, so that's, how we're forecasting, over the time. And then I'm going to get into some more specifics later. And this area here is, the other areas, but our three biggest users are the commercial, industrial, our mobile transport, and also our public transportation. So this is mobile emissions. And this is how we're forecasting it. So how do we reach these targets? What this means is basically we can get to 24% of it alone through weatherization, insulation, advanced lighting, energy management, benchmarking. Electrification is another key strategy, because if you want to transition, or we certainly do want to transition to renewable energy, if you still have natural gas using it as your heating and cooling, or I'm sorry, your heating, then you're not going to get there. But if you have electrification, that's when you can get these renewable energy technologies through the grid, if everything's electric, such as, windmills or solar. And so combining these three things can get us to, net zero by 2050. So, to meet these and lower, at what rate, we're going to get into the next few slides, to adopt the efficiency measures, to replace worn out heaters and furnaces with heat pumps. That's a big strategy. And to replace older vehicles with hybrids and electric cars, and to buy or install renewable electricity. So this is what we learned. Up to 24% of our reduction in emissions can be achieved through energy efficiency alone. And these are the types of strategies, whether it's Energy Star or installing LED lights or weatherizing our buildings. And then this is what it looks like on the commercial and industrial building side, just from weatherization and Energy Star. So we're seeing that, we're going to start off stronger, and as it becomes more, and that, these are the the average savings as well. And then over time, we're also knowing that, to electrify our heating systems, we know it's going to be a lot less in 2020 than it's going to be in 2044. So, we did a forecasting of how many homes we would need to switch to heat pumps per year out of a total of 16,000 households. And that on average, if you want to look at the average, that comes to about 524 homes a year, but we don't expect like in 2020, we're going to have 524. It's going to be more, around 2036, I think this is. And then the same with homes switching to renewables. That's where it kicks in, and that's our forecasting. And if we have time tonight, I'll show you our forecasting tool. At the same time, since electric vehicles are 29%, I'm sorry, since mobile and transportation sources are 29% of our emissions, or I think 28%, we're seeing a forecast here of how many community-wide we have to switch over to electric vehicles each year. And, EVs over the long run are a lot less expensive because they get 100 miles per gallon, whereas current vehicles get 25 miles per gallon. So, there are other things we can do, such as improve mass transport, transit, telecommuting, and more integrated land use planning. So how do we reach our goal? In the best case scenario that we modeled is this means on average, we would do 699 housing units per year. We would do 79 oil and propane furnaces per year. And we would do 445 natural gas units on average over the next almost 30 years per year. And these are some of the links, but I can show you if you want to see our clear path inventory, how we got it through ICLEI, because I didn't mention, I'm going to stop share, but I did not mention there's something called science-based targets. And what that means is that in countries that produce more than their share of greenhouse gas emissions, the IPCC is suggesting that industrialized countries like ours, that we actually, instead of that 45%, we reduce by 63% by 2030. And I don't feel confident that we can do that. Hopefully our grid will be a lot cleaner. Montgo, in their climate action plan that they're going to submit, they were considering doing that, but instead what they've decided is to do a 40% reduction over 2030. I think we have another, and that's from the 2015 inventory. So we're at 35.6%. So with that, I can show you some of these tools that we used that show you actually how you get the calculations. I can show you the ICLEI one. I can show you what it looks like if we wanted to do the science-based targets, the harder one, but we have it tools for both 2030, and I can show you we can spend some more time just looking at the resolution itself. Oh, we have 3 attendees. Okay. And Henry's here. Hey, Henry. So, you want me to stop for questions or?
Actually, Kaki, if it's okay, I have a question that has, and I think this will probably be answered as we move forward. But one thing that has come up in some conversations I've had with folks is for residents. So separate from reduction reduction initiatives undertaken by the township when it comes to township vehicles and township buildings, et cetera. Right. It comes to residents, like sort of the kind of example that I've been discussing with folks is, let's say you have someone who's someone who has a work truck, like someone who's a plumber, house painter, living in in a house in the township, sort of an R3, R4 zoned house, say an R4 zoned house that was built in the 1930s or 40s.
Right.
And they have a work truck. The house is, not abundantly energy efficient. Maybe they've switched to natural gas primarily in the last 10 or so years, primarily to save money, because obviously natural cheaper gas than oil. Is so much cheaper. So someone in that position, family of 4 or 5 in the household, if that person asks their commissioner in advance of our consideration of this resolution of joining this collaborative, what happens to me? Does that mean that me, the guy with the work truck, living in this R4 zoned house that was built in the 30s or 40s, do I personally have to switch to an electric truck and undergo a whole energy efficiency evaluation and upgrade to my house, and so to make all these changes under penalty of some sort of township,
Right.
some sort of township fee or some sort of township, something punitive if I don't.
Right,
If I don't
mandatory. You're
do my-
asking about
Right.
mandatory.
Are there mandates and punishments basically?
So this is all elective, but I would say this, that if you're living in an energy inefficient house, you really need to look into, weatherproofing and doing, the simple techniques. I mean, it really is in your best interest to do that because you'll save money, and that's literally dollars flying out your window. But, if you're in an inefficient house, I mean, switching to, LED bulbs cost a little more, but they save you so much, in terms of the real deal, like, oh, I have a natural gas or I have an oil tank, how am I going to get rid of this? And that's why we're saying by electrification. I was at a great webinar that I really would like to see if we could actually put it on the township's TV. It was by the Solar, what is it called? Solar United Neighbors. It was excellent. It was all about heat pumps. And Henry Alexander, I see you're on this call. You are absolutely right. I was worried that heat pumps were not efficient, that in cold temperatures, electric heat pumps maybe still need a backup system. And after attending this webinar last week, and I'll send you guys the notes, it looks like, no, we have really good electric heat pump technology that can really handle the cold climate. So I blew my socks off. But I think, by 2050, your R4 house, I'm not quite sure what R4 means. I know it's, it's zoning code.
The closest zoning. So
Okay.
the zoning you find in
For the smaller size houses.
a great deal of the west side of the township.
Okay, so with that, I'm just
Right.
saying, people are going to want to do it as the price of, electricity and the grid comes down. I mean, the cost of solar right now is coming down so greatly, but I'm saying that this is something, and there's a bunch of ways you can do, you can do mini splits where you could have each room have a electric heat pump. So the technology's really advancing, and it's something, I'm just saying, you don't need a mandate. I believe that people will they will elect to do this in the future. This is a good thing.
And I guess so that's.
So we're not looking at mandates.
And in the vast scheme of the universe, mandates have their place, but they're very much a pick your battles kind of a thing.
Right.
And so people can be confident that, and again, I'm asking this sort of on behalf of folks who probably maybe be watching this in advance of the board undertaking the debate. Folks can be confident that if we're the board to adopt this resolution, join this collaborative, there aren't suddenly going to be penalties. Like if you don't, again, I'm talking about this hypothetical plumber, painter, carpenter. If you don't upgrade your work truck to an electric vehicle by 2025, whatever, you're going to start. The township is going to impose a penalty on you. That none of that.
And let me say this: that I believe the Ford F-150, the most popular pickup in America, is about to, if it hasn't already, come out with an electric.
And it's just as power. It's a big breakthrough in technology because there's no loss of the power that's normally associated, the power and sort of dynamism that's associated with the F-150. There's no loss in that.
I drive a 2010 Toyota Camry. I love it. It's not a hybrid or nothing like that. It only has 76,000 miles on it. I'm going to drive it till it drops, because you could also make an argument that driving a used vehicle can be, from an emissions standpoint, no, I'm definitely giving out emissions. But when you look at the steel and all that to create a new car, from a supply chain toward, there are emissions like that. So I mean, I'm probably going to drive it till I die. I'm
We have-
older.
We
Well,
have
I
a
think-
2007 Camry, so I hear you.
Yeah.
Just to kind of summarize for you, John, I think as you get into the resolution, it is designed to not require, but encourage to, let people know what we're up against and what we're trying to achieve. And basically trying to do the best we can. What is within the realm of possibility here. We provide the information to people. We can give them information about electric rates. We can show them the economics of heat pumps versus and the cost of replacing electric furnace or a gas furnace or an oil furnace, and what the return on investment is, or solar panels, that kind of thing. How long is the the payback period?
Yeah.
But definitely not encouraging. We're not pushing mandates here.
Yeah, so let me share the resolution itself. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
So just the same as are ready for 100, here's the resolution, and what we're saying is that it's another striving for resolution, that we're striving to reduce, there's no mandates. New opportunities, blah, 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 blah. Will now strive to adopt the IPCC's targets of 45%. So that means there's no mandates. We will strive to attain net zero carbon emissions. And, that's, so that's, to emphasize what Jim just said. So I'm going to stop the share. And this is on page 1, 2, this is the top of page 4 in terms of the recording of the, I mean, I could show you if you want like some really kind of nifty calculators, or I can put links to it. But the only thing is to do the ICLEI calculator, you have to be a ICLEI subscriber, and I have to, I'm signed in, so I can go into it. But I can show you like the forecasts. I can show you Henry Alexander's on the call, and he designed this really nifty. It's great, and you can change it to make it more aggressive. But basically, we looked at over the next 30 years, we did a reduction of about 3% per year in terms of people switching to renewables or people switching. So that's it, but I can show you more. I can do a wait, but wait, there's more if you want. But if you feel this suffices, does anybody else on the call want to talk? I mean, Henry, do you want to say anything about my response, or Bill, do you want to say anything about heat pumps? You want to add anything? I mean, I think that's a big part of the strategies. People are going to have to switch to heat. People will want to switch to electric heat pumps.
I'm certainly intrigued.
Okay.
I
And
mean,
let me
the
say
last
this,
time-
that
last time I looked into an electric heat pump was a generation ago, and it was, it was a completely different animal. The technology has fully
Yeah,
evolved.
it's
since
getting
then.
better. We're still trying to find the source, believe it or not, Ashley, of my plumbing problem. I'm going through this for over a month now, and plumbers are very quick to say it's my hot water heater. And also on the call that I was on last week, they talked about my hot water heater is still under warranty, but they talked about that Rheem, it makes a hot water heater that runs by heat pump. And I'm trying to see if in the event that it has to be replaced, even though it's a lot more smarter. I think in California, they have a program where it would only cost you $200 with all the rebates that are out there. I'm trying to find out now if that's national. And if I have enough room in my closet, I might go for it. The only thing is where you put your hot water heater, it works by a heat pump. So the area or the room around it is going to be very cool because it kind of acts like an air conditioner and it lets out cold air. So, I'm trying to make an informed decision on whether first of all, if I have the space to do it, but, if it turns out that it is my hot water heater, I might be going to a heat pump hot water heater. And the cost, water heater might easily cost you $400, $500 a year to run. But with a heat pump one, it's like $100. So you're going to be saving several $100s a year. And, you know, that's a lot of money over. So it might be upfront more cost, but by year 3, you're going to, you're going to break even, if not come out ahead. So these are the kind of things that we need to educate the community on. We need to educate developers on, you know, all these kind of great things. I see that there's a question. Well, thank you, Bill. That's a good answer. All right. Any other answers? All right. Anybody else? I see that Laura has joined our call. Laura, any questions you want? I know you were kind of late for the call, but I can review our goals. You've got your hand up.
No, I actually don't. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't actually. I was actually going to adjust something and accidentally raised my hand. No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I can just show you what our overall goals are. You know, we basically we're trying to do 45% overall reduction from our 2010 greenhouse gas inventory. And we've already accomplished, I think, oh gosh, my memory's going bad. We're a good part of the ways there. But we want to do 45% from 2010 levels. I think we've accomplished 15%, if I'm correct. And then by 2050, we want to be on the path to net zero. So anything else? Okay. Do you want me to show you some of the calculators, or you think we're good?
Certainly, I mean, certainly if we can, if you could share some links to them.
Well, the links, the only one I can't share is
Not the, I know not the ICLEI one because
Clearpath.
that's proprietary.
Yeah, but I can share, I can show you, let me bring up Henry's, that's a great one. It's really helpful. We have it all through our climate action plan. Let me do a new share. Oops, who can share? Why it's asking me this. All right, let's see. Let's do a screen share. And why can't I screen share? Oh, here we go. All right, let's see if this works. So this is a great calculator that Henry Alexander, one of the trainers for the Ready for 100 Clean Energy Transition Planning, has developed. And he's done this. I mean, he's so generous. He's done this for every municipality that has participated. And, you know, it gives a detailed description how to use it. It shows the modeling assumptions, all the parameters. And this is the page. And it even gives like all the greenhouse gas emissions for all the other townships. It uses 2015 data. I didn't reset it for the 2018 data because it's pretty much almost identical. But, you know, for instance, if I were to change this to, let's say the 6%, let's say we wanted to do the science-based targets, and that means reduce, what is it, 63% by 2030. And this is, I think these are all set for 2050, but let me just, I'll just almost double this. I'll make this to 6%. I hope I'm doing this right. And where was this? Where's my, let me open this up a bit. I'm just trying to see. I think that brings it down here. Let's see, strategies for renewable energy. Let me just bring it to undo. It should have affected this. Oh, maybe it's in here. I have to do it. Let's see. Uh-oh, now I'm messing up. Well, let me go back. Okay, now I'm in the right. All right, so this is a 3.5%. And this is if we wanted to go to 6%. You see how that, oops, sorry, needed to put it, just put this in. That was like, we're in net nothing. So this is a 6%. And if I go back to the 3%, you can see how the curve is not quite as ambitious as when I make it the 6%. You know, that's a, more ambitious strategy to get us to net zero. So that's just one indicator, but it just shows you, like this is just taking into account just building energy efficiency and conversion to electric vehicles. And it's really the renewable electricity that's going to get us there. That's the big takeaway. So the three strategies, as I showed earlier, were, converting to electric sources, simple energy efficiency, and also, what was the third one? It was electric sources, energy efficiency, and renewable energy, of course. So that's this one. I'm going to stop the share on this, but, I'd be more than glad to share this with anybody. And it's all throughout our climate action plan. And let me see, do we have any more questions? Okay. And then let me see if I can bring up the ICLEI stuff. That's kind of neat too. And then we'll call it a wrap. Let me see certain. Okay, here we go. This is it. Let me do a screen share. Oh. So this is by being an ICLEI community in the local climate action plan. And this is what's known as a business as usual planning scenario. So, and this shows like the emitters, like the resident, we're really focusing on residential, transportation, mobile, and commercial. And those are the three indicators that we chosen. I have electric vehicles also, but basically this is with the population changes for Abington. If we just do business as usual, this is what's going to happen with our emissions from these sectors. So this is, for instance, the blue here is the residential. This is the green. And this red line here means that's basically the science-based targets. So that by 2030, we'd have to be down, I think for the one that we're saying that we're going to go from 525 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, that 45% from our 2010 goal, we're going to be at almost 339, almost 340 metric tons. And if we were to do the science-based targets, we would be, 200,000 metric tons. And I just don't feel that that's something that's, I'm not sure we can make that. So it's a nice to do, but I think it also depends a lot on what the government can do. And let me see these other, I can show you the same kind of graphs, basically what it looks like, but that's the one I wanted to show you. And you can flip with this, you can change these parameters, but it's a pretty great planning tool in terms of you do your inventory. And then I did one for the township. I did inventory as well. I'm going to stop and share. And the big takeaway on that was that the emissions, the township only constitutes, like I think 0.8% of all emissions for Abington Township. So it's a really small part of it, but by taking the lead on this and leading by example, I think we'll have an impact. And like to especially work more closely with the school district, because they have an energy manager, a facilities director, and they use, for instance, portfolio manager. And I think, now's the time, once we get our climate action plan out and passed, now's the time to start making these real collaborations, or better collaborations. So any other questions? Well, I want to thank everybody for attending, and
Thank you, Kaki.
yeah, just thank everyone. And Ashley, thank you all for your great support. And President Spiegelman, I want to thank you for your great support. Jim, I want to thank you. Really want to thank Bill and Henry Alexander for creating these wonderful tools. And we have to submit our plan the day after tomorrow. So I'm working. We have a draft up, and if people want to take a look at it, it still doesn't have all the bells and whistles like the opening statements and things like that, but it's pretty much along that people will get the gist. And we also have a poll that people can take. Maybe I'll bring up that last. Let me see if I can show that. Share the second to last. New slideshow. yeah, this is, further, if you want to do the submit comments, we have snippets of the major strategies and the adaptations at this tiny URL. And then you can visit, our climate action plan that the township created for us. And then you could submit comments. This is our email address. And also, if you want to, visit, we have a feedback tool. I'm sorry, this is the feedback tool that has snippets of pages. It's kind of like condensed. If you want to get through it a lot easier. But this is the, we have that. We also have a mapping tool as well. So with that, I'm gonna stop this and dismiss the questions, and I'll just dismiss it. Let me see. I don't know. All right, so I think we're good then. Just thank everybody. Ashley, anything else you think I need to cover?
No, I think that there's no further questions. I think that's fine.
So President Spiegelman, the next piece is this will come before the Board of Commissioners?
This will come before the committee of the whole, and
Committee
then
of the whole? Or it goes to I thought it goes to the Board of Commissioners.
it
But
goes.
it does,
Oh, no, no, no,
It
wait.
goes-
No. I'm sorry. No, it was set, it came here from committee of the whole. It does go to the Board of Commissioners. Thank you for correcting that. That was my error.
So hopefully these targets will be passed so that we can include it in our climate action plan, because in the model that ICLEI has, there are 5 milestones. And the second milestone is having targets, which passing this resolution will accomplish. And the third milestone is submitting or having passing an official climate action plan. So we got to have this one before that one. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you again, Kaki.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
You well, stay safe.
You too.